Stugotz, you have heard me lament in the way that things have sped up in coverage of sports and just social media addictions in general. That we rarely appreciate historic greatness when we're sitting in the middle of it. Usually it's something you have to look back on, and then your arguments can never be wrong when you're arguing on behalf of Michael Jordan being the best ever, and he represents what I want represented as that part of the generation. Michael Jordan went over Karl Malone and Clyde Drexler and Charles Barkley and all of them. He ends up trampling everybody. And I want to know from Amin and you where you put this age against Michael Jordan, given that the three guys who were competing over this generation that we just enjoyed in the Olympics, because we all realized, oh, this is the end of something pretty special here with these three guys. You had three Jordans going against each other, and one of them had a more valuable shot than the others. Jordan didn't have to play against anybody who was making all the threes who was shooting like Curry. He only had to do it against Reggie Miller.
Right.
The game's math changed, and then Durant joins Curry, and LeBron can't get to a couple of the championships from there. So, I mean, historically, how will we regard the three guys who end up elbowing out Melo and Dwayne Wade and Chris Paul, whereas the previous generation, Michael Jordan was there to vanquish all comers, but I don't know that Drexler was as good as Curry or Durant are.
Yeah, I don't think Drexler specifically is as good as those guys that you named, but I think people would name different names from that era. They would say, you know,
Charles Malone,
yeah,
Elijah Wan,
Patrick Ewing,
yes,
Shaquille O'Neal. Like, those are the names of that era. Now, all of them are big guys because that was what the game was. The game was center-driven, big man-driven. And then if you think about it, like, shooting guard was kind of like the least glamorous position. And then, you know, Jordan kind of changed that. But then, I mean, that's the hard part about comparing eras. That's why, like, I'm not a big fan of the LeBron or Jordan conversation, because there's so many variables that every one of these great players both benefited from and were penalized by.
I'm just asking you to put this group, these three unprecedented players having to play each other at the same time, put the generation in some sort of context before it ends here.
Are you talking LeBron, Curry, and Durant, those three
I'm
in
talking
particular?
about how wonderful a time it was in basketball to see these guys fight over a decade for all the titles.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not over yet. Like, all three of those guys are still really good, and they all three of their teams have aspirations of continuing.
It is all over.
You think it's over?
It ended last year. I told you this last year, and you disagree with it. You believe in old guys forever. You believe in the old guy ability to summon something, and the young guys took the league last year. That one is obvious. Those three guys will not have a better chance than the ones they've already had.
I disagree on the grounds that it's not like those three guys came short. I think the supporting cast around them came short. They were not provided with all the tools necessary. So, by way of example, if you take Jason Tatum off the Celtics and you put Kevin Durant, you think the Celtics aren't as good?
But that's not what happened.
But that's
Kevin Durant joined Jason Tatum's Celtics to win the two titles that he won.
But my point
now
is,
you're talking.
My point is this, Dan. My point is, it's not that Durant and LeBron and Curry, like, their time is over. It's that the surrounding infrastructure around them has failed them at this point. And fail is a tough word because those guys have experienced a lot of success in their day. But I'm just saying, in the present time, the part that is stopping them from winning again isn't, oh, if only Curry was as good as he was a couple of years ago. Like, no, he's just as good as he was. It's, man, Jonathan Kuminga, not quite good enough, right? Klay Thompson, not quite as good as he once was. And so I'm not going to sit here and say it's over for any of those three guys because they're still playing at an extremely high level. It's just, how do we get them the help and support they need?
I would say for LeBron, it's over. Like, LeBron has shifted his focus. I want to be there for my kid. I want to play with my kid. He's not chasing championships. If he wins one more in L.A., great. Curry, I still think he can win a championship. And Kevin Durant, oddly, has the best chance to tack on multiple championships to his resume.
Both of you,
if he lands in the right spot.
Both of you have upset me now because I'm trying to have a conversation with you about the last 10 years, and you want to have a conversation about the last 10 minutes.
Right.
I'm not interested in the end of their careers. I'm asking you both to put into context the fact that we have seen 3 all-time greats. 3 all-time greats that don't have precedence as basketball players. None of the 3. There's never been anyone who's existed like the 3 that we just watched. They fought for the championships for 10 years, and last year was oddly unsatisfying with the Celtics throttling everybody because they didn't have one of those 3 guys. They basically indoctrinated an era of fans into these are the 3 best, and good luck discussing and arguing who's 4th among them because these are 3 guys for all time. Now I'm asking you to put it in some sort of context because they beat each other, and one of them didn't just beat the other 2 every time the way that Jordan did.
I mean, the context is that this was a great generation, and it's a generation that's not over. But, yeah, like – I don't know what you're looking for in this argument, to be honest with you.
I will tell you the generation that had Jordan was the best generation. If you're trying to compare generations, don't do it. I care about you.
I'm not trying to compare generations. I'm trying to ask you guys whether it can properly be celebrated what it is that we just witnessed because we spent the 3 years criticizing Durant and LeBron. Steph's the only one who comes out of that unscathed. We spent the entire time questioning their greatness.
Well, Steph never chased titles. I told you when Durant started to chase titles, Dan, it was going to work against him. Okay, I did. I told you that the second he started doing it. Curry just stayed put. He stayed put with a team that was built through the draft mostly, and then they tacked on Kevin Durant. Like, Curry didn't go anywhere. And so I think Steph Curry is probably going to win like one more title. But I'm with Amin. I don't know what you want us to do with context. I mean,
you guys got anything for us here?
I just think it's
great.
No, but I think it's an era for all time is my point. It's the only one that pales. Your parents, okay, can tell you all about Wilt and Bill Russell, and no one can explain to you how it is that actually Bill Russell ended up dominating a player like Wilt, who was the better player, like in an obvious way. That time is so far in the past, it might as well be ancient fossilized nostalgia. We're living in a time for all time right now, and it's what you just felt during the Olympics. The fact that you sort of realized it while they're taking out the Wembanyamas and the Jokic's, who are now, as you argue on behalf of, they've still got time left. I mean, they've had the sport taken from them by who is regarded as the best in the world, and it's Jokic. It's by consensus. It's whether you like him or not.
The Celtics.
But they've had the sport taken. Best player in the world title is not something we'd give Steph, Kevin, or Durant, or LeBron right now.
Right. In the words of Ricky Bobby's dad, oh, you could be second, you could be third. Like, okay, so they're not the best. You think so they're out of the top 10? They're out of the top 100? Like, they're still great. But
I said that about Affleck, and you guys told me that I couldn't have him in the top 20.
Affleck, but he never was. That's the difference. Affleck was never in the top 20.
I'll work on a list.
But Dan,
top 20.
You went back to Wilt and Bill Russell. Dude, in the 80s, we had Dr. J, Magic, Bird, Isaiah Thomas.
Preach.
And Moses Malone and all these guys fought over the titles, and they won the titles, and they split, and they had to go through one another. So I don't think like this is unprecedented. We have a habit of like thinking what's happening to us right now is like the only time this has ever happened, right?